The aims of the training program developed were to generate a positive transference of skill acquisition and to determine the level of retention and transferability to display learning, ultimately moving the performer from a cognitive stage to associative stage of learning. Basketball shot is classified under 2B according to Gentile's taxonomy because of object manipulation, stationary regulatory conditions, and inertial variability, which is the defender's presence. It has a high task organization but low task complexity. It involves both gross motor skills, which include flexion and extension of the knees, hips, shoulders, and elbows, and also fine motor skills, where ensuring to release the ball from the index finger for a straight shot is important. Regulatory conditions include the size of the ball, height of the ring, lack of environmental factors such as wind or rain, and the distance to the ring from the free throw line. Non-regulatory conditions include defenders, score, time remaining, and crowd involvement. There are three key sections of the skill organization that must be completed correctly: the crouch phase with the T hand placement, elbows tucked in tight to the torso through the upward drive phase, and the follow through with all-point extension and wrist flick. Here we have an NBA professional, Bradley Beal, demonstrating a basketball shot and the key aspects talked about in the previous slide. The training program would include whole practice due to high task organization, block practice, a distribution of 3 sessions per week with at least 1 day in between sessions, fading feedback with visual and verbal cues, and an intrinsic motivation for the performer. The tests chosen were 10 shots from the free throw line and 5 received ball and shoot shots. Both were conducted under the protocol stated below. The performer converted at 30% and the quality of the technique was rated at a 2 out of 5. The performer converted at 20% and the quality was rated a 2 out of 5. The participant was determined to be at a cognitive stage of learning, pre-training program according to Fitz's 3 stages of learning. We came to this conclusion because of the high amount of gross errors produced, as well as a struggle with kinematic and kinetic properties of the shots. The performer was not able to control the direction, arc, or depth of the shot competently. The weekly program consisted of 4 drills running at 2 sets of 10 shots per set with 2 minutes rest between sets and 2 minutes in between drills. This was done after watching a video of a professional completing the shot the performer was about to conduct before each drill. Week 1's focus was to learn the basic motor patterning and become accustomed to the training program. Drills are as shown on the slide. The feedback level was high and was given before, during and after sets. Week 1's coach's feedback was that the performer tended to rush shots, it wasn't a smooth action, and all key aspects needed work, especially the follow through and dip down. The performer's feedback was that the ball wasn't being released from the index finger and the wrist was rotating during release, causing a large variation in the direction of the shots. Week 3's focus was starting to be more specific, working on identified cues like hinging of the hips, tucking in the elbows and pushing off with the index finger. The same drills as weeks 1 and 2 were used. The feedback level was medium with feedback before and after drills. We also began asking the performer for intrinsic feedback. Week 3's coach's feedback was that the performer needs to focus on his specific performance indicators as stated in the week's focus, but performed better overall with reduced technical information to consider. He was dipping down deeper and holding the follow through longer. The performer's feedback was that the movement was starting to feel more natural. Week 5's focus is to work on the 3 key performance indicators again, which are hip hinge, elbows tucked in, and pushing through the index finger. Same drills again as weeks 1 to 4. The feedback level was low and only after set completion. Week 5's coach's feedback was that the performer was progressing well. He is now confident in his individual key performance indicators and provides far more intrinsic feedback which were used to correct mistakes during sets. We also noted that the variation in shot attempts has decreased greatly, and unsuccessful attempts are only missing by slight margins. The performer noted that he needed less time to think about the movement, and the movement feels much more natural. The post-test followed the exact same protocol as the pre-test, with the addition of a transfer test. The transfer test involved receiving the ball and having to shoot from the free throw line with the charging defender 10 times. Post-test free throw shooting was at 60% with a quality assessment of 4 out of 5, which is a significant improvement from the pre-test. Some of the key improvements included the follow-through, which was non-existent in the pre-test, as well as the dip down and release of the ball of the index finger. Receive and shoot post-testing was also at 60% with the quality assessment of 4 out of 5 again, a major improvement from pre-testing. All the key improvements from the free throw test were once again present. The shooting with the charging defender transfer test had shooting at 40%, which wasn't a complete transfer, but the shooting improvement was still there. More importantly though, we saw almost a full transfer in the quality of shooting with an assessment of 3.5 out of 5. We were pleased to see that the technique wasn't compromised in the transfer test, and that other than some slight rushing on some of the shots, it was the same as the other post tests. We can conclude that after the program was complete, the performer moved on to the associate stage of learning as far less gross motor errors are present. There was also a modification of the skill in order to achieve the desired knowledge of results and knowledge of performance. It was able to direct the shot much more accurately and the depth of the shot more consistently. With the original aim being to generate positive skill development and transfer of learning ability, based off the results and the intrinsic feedback, improvement from the performer, we can claim the program to have been a success and the aim to have been achieved. The performer improved over a select period of time and became increasingly consistent throughout the training weeks. The retention test demonstrated improved performance level lasting over a period of time, indicating persistence, and the transfer test demonstrated the performer could adapt to differing performance characteristics. Based off the results of both pre and post testing, the performer improved by 30% in the free throw test and 40% in the receive and shoot test, indicating improvement. Subjective quality assessment also improved in both tests, with an improvement of 2 ratings, which calculates to 40% at the conclusion of the training program.